Hello and welcome to Bookish and Unbalanced, the podcast that talks all about the good, the bad, the ugly, and the beautiful of mental health in the queer book community. I'm Katie Trapp.
I'm Amy Spencer.
And I'm Adrienne J. Smith.
We all have a state of mental health and neglect talking about it, or worse yet, we're ashamed to talk about it. Let's break that stigma. On today's episode, we're interviewing reader MJ of MJ's Queer Book Club. Welcome.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm MJ. I'm 34. I like to read a lot, especially queer and sapphic books, but I will read anything as long as the story's good. And I'm currently a student at the moment.
I need to know where the matching t-shirts come from.
I actually don't remember where I bought this from.
Well, I got mine from a well-known supermarket in the UK where every little helps.
Yes. Yeah.
They're very good t-shirts because a percentage of the donation, a percentage of the cost of it went to, oh God, what's it called now?
I can't remember. My memory is terrible.
A charity.
Yeah, I remember it saying
LGBTQ
yeah.
helpline charity. Oh, God, it's gone from my head now, but yeah.
Where's phone a friend when you need it?
It's going to really bug me as well.
This wasn't coordinated. This was just accident.
It was. I feel like I'm missing out. I feel like I need
that would imply like I have some other process than just picking the top thing off the pile in the morning when I get up.
This was on my chair, so I was like, oh, that's perfect. I'll put that on.
Oh, Switchboard. It's called Switchboard. The charity is called Switchboard. That's it.
Perfect.
I knew it began with S. It would come to me. At least it came to me now while we're still talking about it and not like in half an hour. Yeah, there you go. You said you were a student. What are you studying?
So I'm studying psychology at the moment. The degree is 4 years. I've just done 2 years and I'm about to go into my third year next month.
What influenced your why psychology? What influenced your decision to
a couple of reasons. So I came out of work during the pandemic because of my health conditions. I'm high risk, so I wasn't able to stay working where I was working because it was quite a big call center at the time. So I was out of work for quite a while and then my health did take a bit of a dip. And then I kind of had this thought of my body might be broken, but my brain still works. So let's go to university. And then I chose psychology because the brain it's so fascinating. And I was big into like true crime and that kind of thing. And I wanted to find out why people do what they do, what influences people, what's the psychology in that? Why does the brain make people, snap or do one thing? But also pain psychology, I was quite interested in as well.
I have a 4-year psychology degree. I didn't really care about the whole brain part. I just wanted to go and help people.
That's quite a nice reason though, because I bet 50% of people who do psychology or sociology degrees all do them because they're obsessed with serial killers.
Oh, 100, yeah. That gets brought up so much. Mine's like 50. It was like personal interest and because I want to help like chronic pain and that kind of thing. So it was a bit of like both.
I did one psychology class. I thought I might major in it. And I ended up doing one class and I hated it. And it was not because of the topic, it was because of the professor, which sucks. But
yeah, it doesn't help when you've not got good lecturers or professors.
It's not at all. So you mentioned that you have health issues, right? So I'm assuming chronic health issues. How does that impact your mental health?
It'd be a lie to say it doesn't. It obviously does. I'm quite a positive person. You ask anybody and they'll say I'm like really positive and have a good outlook on things. But because it's a chronic pain condition mainly, I do have really bad days where I have really bad flare-ups where I can't get out of bed. I can't do the basic things like shower. So that's when it starts to affect my mental health and it becomes really frustrating that I can't even do the most basic of human activity, like getting up and putting clothes on or going for a shower or making myself breakfast. So it can get on top of me a lot then.
Yeah, I totally get that. So both my husband and I have chronic issues, but his is more visible than mine. And I remember having a conversation recently with him going, yeah, my migraines are chronic. Like
Yeah.
this is a chronic disease. It causes chronic pain.
Yeah.
And he was like, what do you mean? It's just a headache. And I was like, I would not be on a monthly preventative, like regular appointments with neurology, if this was not considered a chronic thing. And I think a lot of people really struggle with that, particularly when a disease or health issue is chronic and invisible.
Yeah.
Like they really struggle to recognize that. And I think pain, because I mean, you said you were interested in pain. So I assume your pain levels are really high, but that also probably means that your pain tolerance is really high.
Yes.
And so like just that understanding that when you're experiencing chronic pain, your pain level, your tolerance is much higher than the average person.
Yeah, 100%. And I think I tried to explain that to people. I'm like, I might look okay on the surface, and that is the problem with invisible illnesses, is I get said to, well, oh, you're really young, you must be really fit and healthy. And like, I look okay. And I'll have one day where I'm fine. And another day I might use a walking stick, or I might have a splint, or I've dislocated my shoulder for the 100th time, so I'm wearing a sling. And I think it took a long time for, especially like my friends and stuff are in my life all the time, to realize that that's what being chronically ill is. It's not like I've just broken my leg, I wear a cast for 6 weeks and I'm healed. It's a constant roller coaster of I'll be okay 1 minute, not okay the next minute. Sorry, I don't know where I was going. I lost my train of thought then.
But yeah, just like trying to work through it too. I mean, I think you get really good at just like pulling up your bootstraps or whatever and going to work and
Yeah, you just kind of have to
particularly
get on with it.
yeah, particularly being younger. You know, I'm 35, so I totally get that. Like you go, like you have to work.
Mm.
It's not an option. And so you figure out ways to just deal with it and go. But it sucks the life out of all the fun stuff.
Yeah, that's the thing as well, because I was talking to my friends about this today, actually, because we were saying about silly things as chronically ill people do. Like we'll still go ride a horse randomly, or like do something that everyone's like, why are you doing that? You're chronically ill. And we're like, but if I stopped doing everything that was fun, I wouldn't do anything. I'd just be sat in bed all day doing absolutely nothing. So I will randomly do stupid things that might seem silly to other people when they think, well, you're chronically ill, you shouldn't be doing that. But I'm like, I wouldn't be able to live my life if I stopped doing everything. But it also has another flip side as well, where people invite you out to do things and you constantly have to say no. And then eventually those friends stop asking you and stop being you because they don't understand that you're not saying no because you don't want to, it's you can't. So
It
it's
must be really like frustrating, because I would imagine if they can't see the illness and they stop asking, it's almost like dismissive.
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, maybe this person is just being dramatic or something like that.
Yeah, because it's hard to see, isn't it? Like you don't like. I mean, I'm in pain now, but you can't tell I'm in pain. It is chronic illnesses are really bad, like with your headaches and migraines and things like that. Like you can't see that someone's in unless you're laid under the covers with all the lights off and you got something on your face.
But when they're chronic, you really get used to it. Like I've had vertigo since we've started this Zoom call, actually. And I've just been talking through it and dealing with it because that's what I do. I have vestibular migraines, so some of it is pain, but some of it is vertigo and dizziness. But yeah, you would never know, and I can mask it really well.
Yeah.
But that also means like when I don't mask it, people like flip out and they're like, oh my God. And I'm like, no, it's really not that big of a deal. Just give it 10 minutes and I'll be fine.
And masking is exhausting.
Oh, it is.
Having to, I mean, I've recently diagnosed with ADHD as well, and I didn't realize how much I masked, like just day to day. And I'd come home and be absolutely exhausted. I've only been in university for 2 hours, and I'm like, why am I so tired? And it's because I've had to try and sit there and not fidget so I don't distract people, not talk over people, not, try and not be disruptive. And it's, people are like, why can't you just sit there quietly for 2 hours? I'm like, you don't realize how difficult it is. Plus the chronic illness on top of that, I also cannot sit still because I'm constantly uncomfortable too. So I get home and I have to go straight to bed just after 2 hours because I'm absolutely exhausted.
And then trying to learn while all that's going on. Oh.
Yeah, I don't know how I've got through 2 years of it already and passed. Like my grades are actually pretty good. I'm quite shocked, really. And that's with having time off as well, because obviously if illness and flare-ups, I can't always be in university, or the university are really helpful with they are quite flexible with like assignment deadlines and stuff like that. They do give me a lot of leeway because of the chronic pain and because of the ADHD. So they are really good, really supportive.
I think that's also one advantage to like hybrid classes and online learning too.
Yes.
Particularly when you get to the higher ed level. I think in most psychology classes that should be fine, but like if you were to get into the therapeutic ones, that's where it would be more difficult when you need that like one-on-one interaction
Yeah.
with people. But yeah, I think that's one massive advantage to technology.
Yeah, we do a lot of stuff online now. They said that years ago, especially pre-pandemic, mostly everybody was in classes all the time, but obviously they had to adapt to working from home. So they kind of kept some of that moving forward, and it's actually been a godsend for me. I don't think I'd be able to do it if it was fully in university all the time. There's no way I'd be able to do it.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier that like just being able to, or just not being able to do like the everyday things like getting out of bed and having a shower and stuff,
Yeah.
because if your chronic pain affects your mental health. And I guess you could, it's really easy then to slip into like a really almost self-destructive cycle, like because when you're depressed,
Yeah,
getting up out of bed and taking a shower is difficult within itself. So like it's like almost like a you've got twice the negative impact in doing those everyday things. Do you know what I mean? Like it's twice as difficult. And I guess that's really difficult to then try and like I don't know how I would necessarily like, I find it hard enough maybe to get out of that kind of dip.
Yeah.
When I've only got one of those aspects to deal with, let alone a second one on top of it. Like it must be really difficult to try and push through that and not just get into that negative cycle.
It is hard, you're right. It's so easy to fall, like you have a couple of days in a row of like, right, I'm not showering, I'm not getting out of bed. And then it's so easy to just keep doing that and kind of falling down a rabbit hole of becoming depressed and getting really frustrated and then getting angry. But last year compared to this year, so when we break up from university, I have about 5 months off where I'm not actually in university. And last year I found really difficult because I didn't really have a lot of friends other than the ones I'd made in university. So I didn't see anybody. So for 5 months, I pretty much like sat in my room and didn't socialize. And I fell into a really, really bad, like depressive state where I didn't want to go out. I was canceling doctor's appointments because I was getting too anxious to leave the house. And I know it might sound cliche, but that's when I found reading. I used to read years ago and I kind of fell out of love with it for a while. And then last year I started picking up Sapphic books again and started reading. And it was just, I read like 100 books in 6 months. Like I couldn't stop once I'd started. I just became obsessed with it. And it was kind of like my little escapism. I was still obviously not well mentally because I was still not leaving the house. But in turn, all these other great things came from it. And now this summer compared to last year, hugely different. Since meeting people online, speaking to authors, making friends, like I'm constantly doing something every day. I'm constantly getting out of bed. Like I've gone to book events. I went to a book event recently in Peterborough and I went on the train all by myself. Like that's a big thing for me to get on public transport by myself. My biggest fear is falling over and not like being able to help myself if I'm on my own. And I did all that by myself. And like now I don't feel as anxious about leaving the house by myself. So it might sound cliche, but books saved my life a little bit like last year.
Oh, I love that.
No, you've made Katie go all soft and gooey now.
Is that what motivated you to launch the reader space and share your love of queer books?
Kind of, yeah. So I obviously started reading some books and then I'd backed a Kickstarter for an author and I'd been talking to them on Instagram. And I would always give them book recommendations. And it was kind of her that was like, you need to like do this. Like people will listen and like people ask you for book recommendations. Which it was Sasha Black that actually told me to do it. Ruby Rowe is her other pen name. yeah, she encouraged me to do it, and that's what made me start. And then I never expected it to get to where it is now. Like I was expecting like a few accounts to just follow and just talk to a few bookish people about books, but like it's over 900 followers now, and I'm like, that's insane to me. I never expected that in like such a short. I only started end of February, so it's a quick time, sorry, to gain that many followers. And I've met so many amazing people.
Yeah, I find the reader sphere on social media far more interesting than any author sphere on social media. Yeah. Like just as an author, I'm like, I want to know what the readers are reading and what they're interested in and what excites them, who excites them author wise, but what books excite them. And that's my own little marketing brain going off and wanting all the details that I can possibly get.
You don't know if other authors are being a bit biased. They might be biased towards other books or like want to push certain other books. I suppose from a reader's point of view, it's purely what are they walking into a shop and buying, or what are they seeing online and buying, or what marketing's working for them to make them buy a book. And I absolutely love supporting indie authors, especially like because they don't get as much marketing as, you know, standard publishing. So I like to share as much of that as possible. And I absolutely love taking pictures of books as well. So that's been a new joy, a new hobby I've found as well.
I think I tried to start like a Bookstagram one time, and it was taking the pictures of the books that I was like, I don't know what to do with this thing. Like here.
It is hard. It is hard. I like to leave little Easter eggs in my pictures, or I'll use props that are to do with the book. So I've made props and stuff as well, and I'll leave like little Easter eggs about the book and stuff. People might not notice, but I think it's fun, and I really enjoy doing it. And I've had a few people reach out and tell me how much they appreciate the photos. I actually had someone reach out recently, I don't want to name names, but and said how much they enjoy my pictures because it's not safe for them to be out, and so they can't own physical books, so they have to like hide their reading on their Kindle. So they take joy in looking at the pictures that I've taken and like getting to look at the physical books, and then it helps them obviously choose what books they want to read as well.
Oh,
I know, like melt with my heart. I was like, that's so sweet. Like I was like, okay, I'm gonna keep taking pictures.
Katie's going to be a puddle by the end of this.
That is just so sweet. I love that whole aspect of like, you know, when you put something out there and people have this positive response to it, it is just so, I don't know, good feeling. Like, I think there's positive sides of the book world, and then there are negative sides of the book world, and I love staying on the positive side. I just love like a happy review, and that'll, I don't know, I prefer seeing the happier stuff as a reader, not just as an author. The same when I wasn't writing too.
Me too. Reading, like I always go by the whole thing that my mum used to say: if you don't have anything nice to say, then don't say anything at all. Like I will only post books that I love because I only want to tell people about the books I love. I don't want to, because at the end of the day, if I don't love a book, it's not necessarily because it's the author's fault or it's bad writing. It just didn't gel with me. You can't like everything that's out there, so I'm not gonna, you know, it's not necessarily a bad thing because I didn't review a book or, you know, didn't post it on my Instagram. But I'm not here to also give authors a bad rep, like, because I think as readers we have a lot of say in that, and I don't want to like just make other people not want to pick up a book just because I didn't like it.
I think there's a lot of value in negative reviews, and I put negative in quotes because they're negative because they're low stars or whatever, but particularly the ones that kind of really explain why a book was not liked. Like I just got a review on my most recent release that was like, I really like this except the aspect of cheating, and I'm like, thank you for putting that in there, because that is a huge turnoff to some people, and they're not going to want to touch that book, and that is perfectly fine. They should not touch that book, right? But it's not, I wouldn't label it as like a negative review because it clearly explains why something wasn't liked, which might jive with somebody else and be like, I don't like that, or somebody else might be like, I love those books, like give them all to me.
I will still write reviews like on Goodreads and like Amazon and stuff like that. I just won't post about books. But same as like that, I won't leave a negative review. It's more of a constructive thing or more of a personal thing. Like I didn't like it because of X, Y, and Z. But it doesn't mean you shouldn't give it a go. Like it's very subjective, isn't it? Like it's up to the reader at the end of the day what they like, and there might be tropes that they don't gel with, or it could be a trigger for them, and that's the reason why they don't read the book.
I love negative reviews, actually. They're some of my favorite ones.
So you've touched then on kind of like some really nice positive aspects of your account and why it's brought you, but it does mean that you have to be active on social media a lot, right? Even if there's a certain level of kind of like, you know, a mask height, or like there's a boundary there, right? You're not your account is a review account, essentially. It's not necessarily a personal account. But saying that, there's, you know, still an element of kind of having to balance being on social media because of the impact it can have on our health. How do you kind of balance and manage that in terms of your mental health and, you know, I guess other impacts on your, you know, your physical health as well? Because I guess it's all intertwined, right?
Yeah. Because like even just taking the pictures, it's a lot of time and effort for me to do that. Like I don't have a lot of space to do that either. So it's a whole thing of me having to clear space, get props, think of what I want to do. So it's very time consuming. To other people, it might see, it takes 5 seconds to upload a post, but obviously there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that goes with doing that. And obviously reading a book takes time as well to be able to post about it. It's very rare I'll post about a book I haven't read, because I want to be able to answer questions if people ask me questions about a book. I try to, numbers aren't important to me. So I'm not very like, I know some people will want, like they say, oh, you need to post twice a day, or if you're on TikTok, you need to post 4 times a day to be able to get the views. I'll stick to once a day, but if I miss a couple of days, I don't beat myself up about it if I miss a couple of days. Like I've missed a couple of days recently just because I haven't been well and I haven't had the time to take the pictures and stuff like that. And I'd still want to do a good job on my account. So I don't want to just hastily put a random post up just because I want to post that day. And just having boundaries as well. I used to be very like, if someone messages me, I'd want to message them back straight away. So just giving myself boundaries to be like, you know, it's midnight, I'll answer in the morning. I don't need to answer right now. I don't need to be on social media right now. They can wait for a reply. It's not a big issue. So just setting boundaries and just not pushing myself to just do too much, because it's not about the numbers and the followers. It's like I was saying, like that post, message I got from somebody saying like how much they appreciate the photos. If it's one more sale for an author, if it's, you know, getting someone else back into reading, then that's what the goal is, not how many followers and how many likes are on a picture.
Sometimes it gets a little like when you hear that you need to post this many times and this many times and this many times, or keep this kind of algorithm going, it can be really overwhelming to just try to fit to that, I don't know, like imaginary schedule. Because I mean, do we really even know all the time what we're doing is being helpful on there? But I've struggled with the you know, messaging people back as soon as I get it and things like that, because it just feels pressured. Like,
yeah, it does. And you want to be helpful, especially as an author. Like you want to connect with your audience, I suppose, as well. And you want to post. And I suppose for indie authors, the marketing's all on you. You're doing all the marketing. It's exhausting. You're having to write and do all these other things as an author, but having to also be your own social media manager and make all these posts and have all these ideas. Like it must be exhausting for like authors to do as well. So I can only imagine how difficult I struggle with it. But if I had to do it in a case of it's making me money, that's a whole nother load of stress that, you know, I don't envy the people who have to do that themselves. It's hard work just to do it as like for fun.
Yeah, I never found posting on social media fun at all.
No.
So you touched on using reading as escapism to kind of help with your mental health, but I'm curious if your physical or your mental health influences like what specifically you read or how you read. I don't know if you prefer like ebook, audiobook, paperback.
Yes, I'm I'm a mood reader anyway. So I can sometimes have like 7 books on the go, which I know like makes people like, oh my God, that's a lot. But I also mix between, like, I do prefer a physical book, but most of my pain that I suffer with is in my right arm. So sometimes I struggle to hold a book. So if I'm having a bad flare up, I invested in a Kindle recently, which is behind me, that I got like a stand and stuff so I can be completely hands-free in bed if I am having a bad flare up. And recently I've started enjoying audiobooks, which I actually find really good for my ADHD, to tandem read. So have the audiobook while reading a book, because it helps me keep on track and it just helps me with my focus. So if I'm like, I really do want to read, that really helps having both mediums, because I find just audiobooks on their own, sometimes the ADHD brain wanders and I've missed like 3 chapters of something that's happened and I have to keep going back. So I find having both works. Mood wise, with a book, I will read anything from dark romance to like your cute little city romance. So sometimes, say if my mood's not great, I might stay away from like darker books, or I might need something that's a bit more light and not as spicy maybe, or something, just mix it up.
Do you have like a comfort genre that you read?
Not really, not a genre as such. I'll have books that I will go back to and like reread. So all of Ruby Rose books, I'll happily reread those again because I've got all the audiobooks for them as well. Eden Emery, Elle May, they're like my go-to like rereads, because I find rereading nice because, one, you already know what to expect. It's almost like putting your favorite movie on, like a comfort movie, even though you've seen it 50 times. It's just nice to kind of have on in the background when you don't really have to think about it. So it's like I still get to read, but I don't massively have to think about it because I already know what's going to happen.
What about a comfort trope?
Oh, I don't know. I am a sucker for an enemies to lovers. Every time.
You're good.
Yeah. Especially if they're like really, really like don't like each other. It's not like true enemies at the beginning. Then I'm like, yeah, this is good.
So at the end of the episode, we like to do rapid fire questions. This is just the first thing that you think of.
Yeah.
No pressure to answer elaborately. What is your dream destination vacation?
I'd like to just go in a cabin somewhere, like in the woods or like with a lake, where I can just read and write and no one bother me for like a week. Like hide away, like no phone signal, just take a bag of books with me and my laptop and just write.
I have been debating whether or not to do that next
Like a little writing retreat.
Yeah, just me.
Yeah.
Leave everyone else at home.
Yeah. Make sure it has a hot tub and then you can just,
I know. And I live in the mountains, so that would be really easy for me to do.
Yeah. Sounds perfect.
I know.
Find a cabin somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't think I would like that.
No.
I need the interaction of people. What is your trope, whether in your relationship or you as a person?
Probably the miscommunication trope.
Is that really a trope, or is it just life?
I know, right? It seems to be a trope at the minute in books that I've been reading. It seems to like come up a lot, and I'm like, that's my life. Like that's probably half the reason me and my partner argue is just because of miscommunication. Like it happens.
Wait, only half? You're doing good. It's like every freaking time.
Yeah, probably more than half, to be fair.
Where did you see kindness today?
A friend of mine actually helped me with, so I've started writing my own book. And an author friend of mine, Nadine O'Keefe, she's been helping me plot my book because I was struggling with it. So she actually helped me today to like re-plot my chapters because I'd messed up a little bit. So she didn't have to, but she went out of her way to help me.
Yeah, we have some history with plotting. AJ influenced me to finally start doing that.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not saying she was right, but
I don't know how you can just go in and just write and just not have any plan, or like just I couldn't do that.
I mean, I used to. That's how I used to write, was pantsing. And then I figured out if I plotted something out, I was a lot quicker at writing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What's your philosophy on good mental health?
Funny enough, communication. I think it's good to have communication in the sense that, like, tell people when you're not okay. Like, it's okay. You can tell people, oh, look, I'm having a bad time right now. Or you don't have to go into details of what's happening, but just being able to tell people you're not okay. And, like, it's fine to say no to things. You know, if you're feeling a bit anxious or things are happening, or have that conversation, because you don't know, like, they might be able to accommodate what it is that you want to say no to. And then you might end up going and doing something and having a good time regardless. And that might help your mental health. So I just think with people that are closest to you, just being able to communicate how you're actually feeling. Don't just say, I'm fine. And my biggest thing as well is don't ask people if they're okay, because you'll always get them to just automatically say, I'm fine. Ask people a personal question, or how's your week been, so that they have to explain more about what's happening, and you'll tend to get a truer answer.
And where did you find joy this week?
I'm currently having a tattoo done next week. I'm having like a bookish themed tattoo, so that's brought me a lot of joy, because I've been like picking images out with my artist and design and stuff that I'm having done. So I'm excited to have that done next week.
You will have to share pictures.
I will. I'm having I've got a tattoo on my shin that they're finishing, and then we're starting on my arm, and I've got loads of, it's almost like a patchwork. So I've got like things from some of my favorite books.
I've been fascinated lately, this is totally off topic, but by those tattoos that look like embroidery.
Yes.
I love them.
They're so good. Yeah.
I don't think I would want one, but
No.
they're gorgeous.
No, it's not something I'd have, but they are really nice.
Have you seen them, Katie, or you Miss Anti-Tattoo over there?
I have tattoos, thank you very much. I think I've seen some kind of, like, in the past. I don't know.
We do them with like cartoon characters a lot. So like I think the first one I saw was Winnie the Pooh and Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah, and they almost look like they're coming off. They almost look 3D, like they're coming off. Yeah, it's good.
They look like they're like the patches that you can get for like your jacket or whatever, like on your skin. It's really cool.
It's clever how they do it.
Well, I will do the extra because Ames has vanished. So, okay, folks. That's all for our latest episode of Bookish and Unbalanced, and we would love to thank you, MJ, for sharing with us today. And we also want to thank our listeners for tuning in and getting to know MJ just a little bit better than before. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons to keep up to date with our latest episodes. And until next time, take care out there, and remember that we are all in this together. And this is where we throw our paper.